Hi, this is Paranormal Encounters, and I'm your host, Brenda McGee. Today I have two very special guests, Roland Comtois, who's a spiritual medium, and I have Stephen Lupo, his composer and director. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one of the main things why I wanted to have you on the show is I really want to talk about Heaven the Experience.
Thank you.
And I'd like to start with, I've seen a preview of the show. I was very honored when you asked me to do that. And I have to say, I was so moved, and I know it was practice and everything like that, but I have to say, when I left there, now I do believe in heaven.
Yes.
But I know that there are others that question it sometimes. So I have to say, I've been telling a lot of people that if you didn't believe, or if you didn't realize, go see the show.
Well, thank you for that. You know, one of the things about doing this kind of story on a stage, it gives the person attending the opportunity to experience heaven in a way that's less threatening. You'll hear music, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll feel energy. But you're in a room with a lot of people, and it's less intimidating, because death and heaven and near-death experiences, those are very heavy topics. And to bring it in a way that showcases the lightheartedness, the love, and the energy that I experienced when I had my near-death experience is what this is really all about.
Right, and this is what you're doing. You are reenacting exactly what happened.
You know, it is. From every word that's in the script to every bit of lighting and even every musical note that Steve has so beautifully created is all a reenactment of what I experienced many years ago when I collapsed at an event. I was with 12 or 13 people, and my body stopped. It just stopped. I fell to the table, and I was gone. My cousin was reaching for my pulse, and people were around me. I saw this light. I felt this sense of separating and leaving, and I followed that. And we have been able to recreate that to the best of our ability here, so that people can come and make their own decisions about what they believe or what they don't believe.
Now, what prompted you to do it now? This happened quite a long time ago.
Well, you know, interestingly enough, in 2008, I was writing my first book, and that book was supposed to be about this particular topic, but it wasn't right, it wasn't ready, and more importantly, though, I didn't find this guy because, you know, Steve has been able to take and translate the sounds that I heard in creating a very amazing musical experience that comes along with this entire production. So, you know, the time is now. You know, there's no negotiating it. It's time to tell the story. Even if you look at the world we live in right now, who doesn't need a little hope?
Right.
Who doesn't need a little inspiration? Whether you get it through the words I'm saying, the songs I'm singing, the music you hear, or the feelings in the theater, it's important that we begin to really reconnect with the energy of hope.
Now, I know you two are very connected spiritually. And Stephen, I know that a lot of the music you channel. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I didn't realize I was channeling in the beginning. When someone comes up to you and talks about his near-death experience and says, oh, by the way, I'd like you to reproduce the music that I heard on the other side, I'm like, okay, how do we do that? Does he want me to go there physically? So that was a little unique. But once I passed that thought, it was channeling. I didn't know it at the time, but the more I got into it, the more it was apparent. So right from the very beginning of the melodies that he heard, which became later songs in Heaven the Experience, as well as the music that goes behind certain sections of the presentation. And now they've become such an integral part of each other that the minute you hear the music, it keys the entire sequence of events. So they've become synonymous with each other. So it's a great experience as a composer, because unlike just writing background music, so to speak, or a score, the music that was developed for this just, I cannot say it any better than it just happened.
You know, I heard when I died a singular note, a singular sound. I took my last breath, the light was there, I was letting go of this physical body, I was seeing the light, I was feeling this enormous amount of love that can't even be expressed in human language, and I heard a singular note. And I went to Steve and said, I hear this sound. I don't know how to express the sound to you, but I can tell you where I was when I heard that sound. And from that moment, a song called Through the Door was musically discovered, and it was profound. And interestingly enough, Stephen, you know this, I had other musicians try to write the music for this, and it didn't work. It wasn't until we found each other, and I said, it's this singular sound and this feeling that I want to translate. He was able to do that. Not only do we have this extraordinary music, we have a visual experience besides, you know, that takes the person who's sitting in that room on a journey. So they get to go on the journey through the script, they get to go on the journey through the video, and they get to go on the journey through the music and a few songs. And they get to make a decision on what they believe or what they don't believe. Right? It isn't my mission or his mission or anybody's mission, really, to get someone to believe something. It's our mission to tell our story and to stand in our truth, and maybe to be someone who is an advocate of hope that can transform something. And I think very strongly that this experience might do that for some people.
Well, like I said, I experienced it, just the practice part of it, and I mean, I've always believed in heaven, but the way that you portray it in your experience, it's just amazing.
You know, I got to tell you that everything that's in this production was approved. I mean, nothing is in there that I didn't hear, see, feel, sense, or know. Right? We were emphatic that every piece of it could get us as close to the heavenly experience. Look, there is no way that I can tell you or your viewers or anybody else the kind of love that I felt. I was immersed in it. It lifted every pain I had in my being, every ache I had in my mind was lifted out of that space. And this display of enormous colors, reds and greens and blues and purples and yellows, but those weren't the right words to describe them. They were even more enhanced. So, and then to hear what Steve has created musically, it just put a nice, beautiful bow on this amazing experience that I had many, many years ago.
Now, I know you work a lot with spirit.
Yes.
And that, you know, a lot of people are talking about heavenly experience. When did you start your journey? Was it after this near-death experience, or you were doing it beforehand?
I was doing a lot of work before this. I mean, I started reading at 17 or 16 years old publicly for people. So I started doing that a long time ago. I already believed in heaven when I was a 5 and 10-year-old kid. I already believed in the idea of it. At that young of an age, I already understood that there was something more. When I had my near-death experience, there was this magnificent voice that echoed through that space that said, this is what you have to do. And I understood that doing this, heaven, and being a medium and telling the story of the afterlife is part of the mission. My near-death experience enhanced, expanded, enveloped my understanding of what this is all about.
Now, how can they buy tickets for the show?
Sure. On January 8th, we're very excited that we are premiering the first ever Heavenly Experience at the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And you go to thestadiumtheater.com to purchase your tickets. Lots of tickets left. They're great an afternoon of going on a journey.
It's a great way to start the new year,
It's
right?
a good way to start the new year, for sure.
Yes, it is.
That's for sure.
The songs that you sang, that you're singing,
Yeah.
you're singing,
He's
right?
singing, yes,
You're
he's singing.
Let's not talk about it.
No, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we need to talk about that
Yeah.
because you're used to talking to so
Yes.
many people. I mean, I have to say this, Roland, and I'm not doing it to make you feel uncomfortable or anything like that, but when I met you, you changed my life.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to say, you've been a positive. There's so many people that are looking for guidance, and you're hope. Okay?
He has that effect on a lot of
He
people.
really does.
He really
and
does.
that's why I'm so honored that you're here today.
Thank you.
But it's like I don't know where I was going with this because I just got so
it's funny
overwhelmed.
it started out with creating some music, but
Right.
that's in its simplest terms. This became a mission at some point, and the singing. Let's go back to that real quick.
Yeah, go back to the singing.
He has a great voice, and I think
He does.
a lot of people are going to be surprised because it's not.
I'm going to be surprised.
No. It's not. No, really. He has a great singing voice. It's
heard.
one of those people that he's always singing and stuff. And,
Right.
And then when it comes down to doing the songs, there's 14 pieces of music in this production. There's a lot of music in this production.
Right.
It's wall-to-wall music.
I love it. It's beautiful.
5 of the 14 pieces are songs. The rest are songs that are, I guess you could call them songs, but they're pieces of music that go with the part or the section that he's talking about during the experience.
Right.
So there's a very delicate balance of hearing this music and having it affect you, but also not getting in the way of what he's saying. So it's a little different than like a movie score.
Well, those songs that you sing are, when I left there, I was singing them over
my God,
and
that's
over
beautiful.
again,
That's
and
great.
that was only and I said, I think I told you this. You need to make CDs. So after
Yeah.
this show,
We will.
Oh, I'm so thankful for
Yeah.
that because that's how beautiful the songs are.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you.
Yes.
It's been an interesting experience trying to get into that part of who I am because that's a little overwhelming, right? But the fact is, there are 5 songs that were channeled, the words were channeled. One of the songs is called Through the Door. And I'm not going to sing it for sure, but
Right.
it's...
Oh, go ahead.
No, when you walk through the door, there are angels standing there and people everywhere, right? Those words I heard at the second I died. I heard them say there are angels everywhere, there are people everywhere, that they take you by the hand, they lead you through the land. And I understood that as I was dying, some energy, some force, something was there. It was whispering in me. It was talking to me. It was saying that when you walk through this door, there are angels standing there and people everywhere. They lead you through the land. They take you by the hand. They lift you up. They bring you. They do all these beautiful things. They said those words to me. What the audience will hear will be exactly what I heard. And when they hear the music and the way the music sounds for that particular song, all the music for sure, it's exactly what I heard. I have been very particular about the music because it tells another aspect of the story, because we all know that music changes you.
Yes.
It lifts you. It propels you. It inspires you, right? It gets you somewhere.
Absolutely.
Right.
And this music, I am quite sure people will be changed. That's how powerful it is.
And there's really a story. We could be here all day talking about the story behind the story, so to speak, because the music, as Roland was saying, channeled.
Right.
But there's a story behind every one of them, how it was received, so to speak. Very quickly, I'll tell you that one of the first opening pieces of having the experience, I had no idea how to start. How do you start telling this type of a story? I mean, you just don't just start.
Right.
So musically, there's a little beginning to it before we get going, and I had no idea how to start this thing. So one night, go to sleep, 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear these 7 notes. I literally, in my dream, hear these 7 notes. I get up, I wake up, and I said, what is that all about? This is the beginning of my experience of opening up and channeling music. The next night, same thing happens, the exact same 7 notes. So now it's 4 o'clock again in the morning, exactly. I get up, and now I have to write it. And now I realize what it was. These 7 notes are in the very beginning of the piece, and then they change to another key. They go, it's the same 7 notes. But it just presents itself. And the whole thing presented itself.
Yeah.
That's just one quick story, but it was kind of all like that.
You have to know it's divinely guided.
Yes, you have
and
to.
that's what makes it so amazing.
You know, interestingly enough, and your audience will understand this, many years ago I was at a meeting in New York. It was a production meeting about my telling the story about heaven, long before I met the Lupos. And by the way, we got to give a shout out to Diane Lupo, my vocal coach, assistant director, and Sean Canoyer, the creative and visual arts director, and Brian Sawyer, the lighting technical director. I mean, we have an amazing team of people helping to put this together.
Absolutely.
I forgot where I was going also now.
It was a great story, though.
Fantastic,
Divinely
wasn't it?
guided.
Mesmerized.
Divinely guided.
And so I've come to understand that this experience is divinely guided. There's no other way that it could be what it is because of everything that's happened to get it here. And I was talking about 2008 or 9. I was at a meeting with a guy who says, I need you to tell your story on Broadway. This is how this conversation started. And it was in 2008 or 9. And he said, I want you to tell the story about heaven on Broadway. There's nothing like it. I need you to do that. This is what he said to me. And I said, okay, I'll work on it, right? And that was 2008 or 9. And I had written a date on these pieces of paper that I had in the meeting. It turns out that something very monumental happened on the date that I had recorded. It said that on April 25th, 2015, you will begin to change the world with your heaven story. We were in the midst of recording Through the Door at that particular time. It was some kind of seeing the future of what this is all about. So you're right. Today is the day that January 8th is the day that it will begin, and it will begin as a result of all these amazing pieces coming together, all to tell the one story.
Yeah.
Is there a heaven? Is there something beyond the door? Is there something beyond here, right? One of the questions everybody asks me is, where is heaven?
Right.
Right.
Where is it?
Right.
You know, that question gets answered during this production. Where is heaven? If I asked you where heaven is, what would you say?
Right beside me.
Right beside you. What would you say?
Wherever.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right.
You know, heaven is in the eyes of my daughter. It's in the friendships that I have in my life. Heaven is even in the ups and downs, the in-betweens, and all those other spaces. And so what we have done is hopefully giving the person going on the journey with us the opportunity to make a decision on what they believe or what they don't believe about heaven, about the afterlife, about what happens when we die.
Right.
Because that's an important thing to be talking about. We live in fear about death.
Yes.
We live in it. We breathe it. And many people that I meet, and you probably do as well in your work, they are consumed with what happens at death. This gives us a way to look at death with a little bit more ease,
Right.
with a little bit more peace.
Right.
There's knowledge, there's hope, there's a lot of things in this. I think everyone will take a little something different from it too. It also is a piece that every time you see it, you can see it more than once obviously, but every time you see it, something different happens.
Right.
Even with us rehearsing it, something different happens every
Right.
time we rehearse it. So it's a very unique story.
It really is. And like I said before, I know it's going to change people's outlook. And that's what this world needs right now, is just what you're going to teach, show them your experience.
Yes.
And Roland, I know you have a lot of followers, and I know you go all over and you give messages with your purple papers and things like that. And it's people look for someone to give them, that dream that, yes, there is an afterlife, and you do that.
We are all the administrators of hope.
Right.
We all do it in our own way, He does it his way, you do it yours, I do it my way. But it is a time of unity, not a time of separating. And we're hoping that the people who come to this feel a connection, or maybe the rebirth of something that has gone vacant or absent. And that's all we're asking for. Look, if someone sits in that audience and they start singing the songs, then I think we've done well. If someone sits in the audience and they start to cry and they remember their family that have passed, then I think we've done an amazing job. If someone sits in that audience and says, reaches to their friend and says, I think I'm going to be okay through all of this, then I think we've done something. And when I say I don't mean me, I mean us.
Right.
Because it will take the entire audience to make this experience happen.
Right.
This is about me being on there singing a few songs or his music. It's this collective of these people that have come to go on the journey for an hour and 15, 20 minutes and see what happens. Right. That's what this is really all about. It's about hope.
And think of the domino effect. That one person is going to leave and tell another person.
Yeah.
And then people just need something that they need to hope. I keep saying hope because that's the word
it
that,
is hope.
Because we deal with death every day. Yeah. Our own family's deaths and things like that. And people always ask me, are you afraid to die? I said, absolutely not. And they're like, you're not? I'm like, no, I'm really not.
And like you, I've been asked that question thousands of times. And I say, I'm not afraid to die. I just don't want to leave my daughter yet.
Right.
I just want to make sure she's okay. There is no fear attached to death. And when we let go of the fear of death, do you know what we can really do? Live. Because the fear of death, it interferes with our lives, with our living.
Paralyzes you.
Yeah, it paralyzes. Great. It paralyzes you. It puts you in kind of a hold pattern.
It does. And even though we've lost others and we know they're in a better place, it's still, you have to mourn that. Yeah. But then you rejoice knowing, I know she's good.
Yeah.
I know they're good.
Mourning and grief and pain related to loss, all of it tells me that there was love, that there was so much love, so much connectedness between two people that it makes the experience so tangible, so palpable. And so what I hope for people, unrelated to having the experience, is that you live your lives. You live it to the fullest. Live with unity and connectedness and knowing that there is no separation, that there's something that unites us and brings us back together.
Right. And life is so short.
Yes.
You need to, know that there's more out there, and you need to live your life because you never know what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah. In the script, I address these things. I say, I'm not ready to go.
Right.
I'm not ready to die. But I died.
Right.
And then I saw the light, and then I saw people that I knew, my grandmother, waving to me with her, I saw her with the same brilliant white hair that she had in life, just waving to me. And I could feel this energy moving between us. And it wasn't like she was physical, but I could feel and remember all of my family and all of the love that was ever shared in my life. It was powerful.
Very powerful. And it's Heavenly Experience.
Yes.
And it's January 8th.
Yes.
Yep. 2 o'clock, 2 p.m.
2 o'clock at the
Stadium
Theater. And they can go right on the online and get their tickets.
Yep.
Yes.
We are running out of time, but I want you to stay because we're going to do another show.
Oh, great.
I appreciate what you're doing. And if anyone has any questions and they want to get in touch with me, they can either go, to the website we just told you about, or Paranormal Encounters, tv9@gmail.com. And thank you for watching.